As we haven't had a full AGM with members attending since 2019, when we reviewed 2018, I'm going to try and do an overview of the whole period since then. At the 2019 meeting, we outlined our plans for the future as follows. It works. Okay, it's a good start. They were build a new bigger pond in the village area, develop the barge pond area, dig out the back of the reed bed, and all of these were achieved, although, as always, there's always more to do. The reed bed work and the village pond were completed, although we do intend to pave around the front edge of the pond yet. The barge pond was greatly improved and open to members to view, but there is more to be done there yet. We then had some major obstacles to overcome, and we're still dealing with them. COVID, sewage leaks and tree problems. But first, let's look at what's been done already, and we'll start with the reed bed. In 2019, the back of the reed bed had silted up and dried out. This was the view from double decker, where we had already dug out the front section, shown here, in 2016. But now we needed to do the whole of the back edge, from the Bitten Channel right round to Rotunda, which was completely dry and choked with bindweed. You can make the bindweed out. You've got the reeds at the front where it's been dug out already, and then behind it, that's dry and just bindweed the whole way. So this area was more than 4 times the double-decker dig area, over 360 square metres, as can be seen on the map here. So the yellow area is in front of double-decker, and that's where we'd already dug out in 2016. And the red area is the area we plan to dig out now. We had an offer of cash from the HS2 mitigation fund to cover half of the cost, and we were in drought conditions, so it all looked good. It's a bit clearer here. This image was taken after the work, and you can see the raised bunds that we created dividing the reed bed. These are made up of stones and are strong enough to support our tractors and excavators for any future desilting work. It was a major task. Clearance work started by the work party on the 24th of August 2019. A few familiar faces there. It took 6 weeks' work to cut and clear all the top growth. This was a major job. And then another couple of weeks probing the depth of the mud to find the shallow areas and map them. The silt was up to 3 metres deep in places, and we had to know where they were so that we could keep the 18-ton excavator out of them.
Yes.
Yeah, it helps. This was done by pushing a 2-metre pole down into the mud at 1 metre intervals over the whole area in a grid, so that we could feel for the bottom and map it. So that was a large bit of the work there. Now that we've created the bunds, this won't be needed in future. We've just got the bunds to work to, and that's it, making future dig outs a lot easier. The diggers started work on the 14th of October 2019. And this is where some of the spoil was planned to go, making a new sanctuary hill along Rotunda Path to help screen the reed bed from visitors. More spoil was piled in a horseshoe shape behind double decker as a feature sun trap area, and more was used in 3 islands created at the back of the reed bed and a mound behind Rotunda. And this was the view from the back of the reed bed once it was dug out. You can see all 3 hides from here. So Rotunda is on the left, sanctuary is in the middle, and double decker on the right. Just to double check that, that's right, yeah. The muddy bank on the left is one of the bunds created for future access. It's mainly stones dredged from the silt. And finally, here is a before and after taken from the double decker hide. Spot the difference. A lot of work, but very pleased with that. And here is a before and after shot from the sanctuary hide. This was the end of October 2019 and a year later in November 2020. So an awesome difference. But sadly, no members could enjoy it because, of course, we had to close. That was just as we closed. Thank you, COVID. When we had hired the contractors to do the digging, we hired them and the digger for a set number of days. And you have to allow time in case there are problems that slow things down. So we had extra tasks planned that they could do if everything went well and they had spare time. One of the extra tasks we had planned was an extra pool to the right of Rotunda Hide. And here it is. On the left is the bird table, and at the far end of the pond a willow was knocked over, exposing the root ball. A pair of kingfishers liked the look of that. And in spring 2020 they raised 3 chicks in a nest in that root ball. Our first breeding record for years, photo taken by Paul Ward. And they have nested again in the same root ball in 2021 and 2022, and they're back there again this year. So that alone makes it all worthwhile. So they've also started nesting in the nest box that Colin Rowe built at the barge pond. So we're doing very well with them. Another of the extra tasks we had planned was digging a new pond in the village area, and we managed that too. We had the outline all planned and briefed, and the diggers dug the hole out on the last day. So that all worked perfectly. We paid separately for a concrete supporting ring around the edge and for installing the liner. And we also felled a poplar and 2 alders to get sun onto the area. And this is the result. It's been a huge success. The view here is from the oak tree in the village area. The stones are a shallow beach at the back so that any wildlife that falls in can get out, and the front is deeper for pond dipping. We do plan to pave the front edge, but that's where we are for now. And we have already seen loads of new species move in, including this one. This is a downy emerald dragonfly. That's quite a rarity locally. In fact, I don't even know where the nearest local ones are. Thursley Common, I think's about it. But this was found by Tony Holes on the 27th of May 22. I think he also saw one on the...
I think the patient
wasn't confirmed, was it?
Sanctuary at one point.
Yeah, wasn't confirmed.
Didn't photograph it.
Yeah.
And mine was at distance, as you can see. So.
But it proves what it is. That's fine. It's good enough. So this was along with lots of other dragonflies recorded in the pond there. Broad-bodied chaser, emperor, black-tailed skimmer, radian commandatus, and also banded demoiselles and red-eyed damselflies, and small red-eyed damselflies. And also a new species of soldier fly for the reserve. This is the ornate brigadier. It's a recent colonist to the UK and still rare. This is a tenorel one, newly hatched, and it's still drying its wings, so it must have bred in the pond. I photographed it on the 21st of June 21, so it must have come from eggs laid in 2020, within months of the pond being dug. Build it and they will come. So that was all the rebed work that was carried out in October 2019, and we were still clearing up and getting over that when COVID struck in March 2020. Obviously this had a massive impact on us, and for our member safety we were forced to close. With no work parties, only committee members could do essential maintenance work working in family pairs. Feeding and monitoring birds, clearing paths, fence checking, cleaning rafts, etc. In fairness to our members who couldn't visit, we decided to waive subs for a year, so we stopped spending on things like the pond paving for now, saving our reserve funds for emergencies. In the autumn of 2020, we were finally able to get a few work party people in, but socially distanced and to strict rules, and we're still being cautious now. In 2021, we cut the new rebed bund edges and islands and Rotunda Meadow and replaced the shellhide ramp and refurbished the rafts. And we also created a new nesting area for the black-headed gulls. A little more on that. Common terns last nested on the reserve on the rafts in 2018, when there were 6 nests fledging 16 young, our best ever. There were only 7 black-headed gull nests then, their 5th year of breeding at the reserve. In 2019, no terns nested and there were 20 gull nests. 2020, no terns and 40 gull nests. 2021, no terns, 38 gull nests. 2022, no terns, but with a new island cut, 60 gull nests, a 50% increase, and a pair of Canada geese raised 4 young on one of the rafts too. More on those in a minute. We are one of only 5 sites in Herts where black-headed gulls nest, and they're an amber-listed bird. So it's sad that the terns are still not nesting, but a result that the gulls are doing well. We have now cut another willow island for them opposite Shellhide. So let's hope they leave some room for the terns this year. So this was the Willow Island opposite Long Hedge in January 2022. And you can see on the right side how we were cutting back the growth to clear the view and laying the brash as nest bases. And we cut the whole island like that. And a 50% increase in gulls as a result. This is one of the nests on the Willow Island 5 months later. And this is the new island that we've cut this year, seen from shell hide. And we've also recut and laid the original island at Long Hedge. So now the gulls have 2 islands and 3 rafts to nest on, and hopefully they may leave some room for the terns too. But if not, we will still be one of only top 5 sites in breeding black-headed gulls in Herts, and they are an amber-listed bird, so a result either way. I mentioned breeding Canada geese earlier, and they had a bad impact on our orchids at Rotunda Meadow. Canada geese and orchids, they don't mix. We used to cut the whole of Rotunda Meadow, but when the Canada geese started breeding on the reserve, they loved the fresh grass growth there and ate off all the new orchid leaves too. This was what the meadow used to look like before they moved in. We had thousands of southern marsh orchids, including some rarer leopard spotted ones, and common spotted orchids and hybrids, a lovely display. But the geese wiped these out almost overnight. So last year we experimented by cutting stripes into the meadow, leaving some longer areas where we hoped the orchid leaves would be more protected. As you can see here, the stripes ran away from the hide view in a sunburst, giving views to the back for the snipe and green sandpipers, etc. Orchid numbers were slightly improved, all of them being in the longer areas, as can be seen here. So this year we've only cut the left side of the meadow for the snipe and green sandpipers and goslings, and left the right hand side for the orchids. We'll see how that works. It's not just the orchids and the snipe that we have to think of. The long area also has 2 harvest mice nests in it last year, so hopefully we'll help them too. This was one of the 2 nests. It was in the long grass near the orchids, and there was another one further back in the reeds, so they seem to be doing well. And the longer grass is also great for many species of invertebrates. Here are 2 examples, a 4-spotted orb-weaver spider and a wasp spider. There are many more, some of them scarce or locally rare, like water ladybirds. There's loads. And here is the reason for cutting the shorter areas on the left of the meadow. Here are 4 green sandpiper enjoying it in July 2020. And this is a snipe taken there in March 23 by Adrian Lee. So, apart from COVID, another major issue that we had to deal with is tree work. Tree work is an ongoing process at Maple Lodge. Thank you.
That's the first one.
Hope that's not important. Trees need managing. Thames Water carried out a 10-year safety survey of all the trees on their land, including us, in October 2021. We have a number of overmature and dangerous hybrid black poplar. And ash dieback has hit us hard, and we're having dying ash trees near the Parrs. Other trees also need emergency action when they fall or drop branches. The Thames Water Safety Survey identified a large number of trees that could be a danger to people on our Parrs or along the fence line and to the public. Most of these were the hybrid black poplars. They broke these down into 3 categories, and the most urgent were tackled immediately, including 3 leaning trees in the plantation over the paths and some that could fall on the road. The secondary ones included the poplars down past Tilhide, and these were prioritised as they could fall on the temporary sewage pipes being installed there. And the 3rd tier ones were due to be done within a year, but are now 7 months overdue. This was the work lopping the poplars between Tilhide and the sluice, tier 2s. One of these had already fallen over across the path, and the rest were lopped to stop that happening again. The logs were piled up as an insect habitat, and as we now had extra light, we were able to increase the size of the hazel coppice there and plant more in front of them and between the poplar monoliths. In addition to the Thames Water Survey trees, we also paid for a number to be addressed ourselves. These were done either for safety or to get sunlight onto the pond area. These were the 2 orders by the woodshed that we failed to get light into the village area for the new pond. This was tricky as we didn't want to damage the new sheds and roofs. And in the village we had problems with the poplar by the lean-to. This large branch had fallen off the poplar over the lean-to, and it weighed several tonnes, was only being held off the roof because it was snagged on the holly at the far end. If it fell, it would have smashed the lean-to. The only way to get it down was to bring in a professional tree surgeon with a crane. And as we had to get him in, we did a quick survey to see if any other trees could cause problems. There were a number of poplars behind double-decker that would also smash the hide if they fell, so we did those too. It meant spending money when we had none coming in, but if any one had fallen on the hide, it would have cost a lot more. Another tree that needed urgent attention was the poplar monolith next to teal hide. It was flagged up as dangerous in the Thames survey, well spotted, but only as a category 3. Yeah, they got that wrong. So it hadn't yet been done by them and it fell right on the path. Luckily no one was hurt and we diverted the path around the back of it temporarily. And as it was on their list, we were able to get Thames contractors to cut it up and move it for us free of charge. Another tree problem, this one fell on our barge. Luckily it didn't break and we were able to move this one ourselves and release the barge unscathed. This dead oak monolith by the woodshed was getting unstable and could reach the path, so we lopped it to a safer height. And the poplar by the lean-to that I mentioned earlier had been threatening to fall since it dropped the branch, and that had to go, which we did in March this year. And the last of the recent tree work was felling or lopping these 5 dying ash trees in the plantation. All of these were over the main path, so took priority. The one that was further from the path we were able to leave as a monolith. Standing deadwood is a great habitat, if it can be kept safely. There are other ash trees dying in the woodland walk, and they will also need tackling in the future. Some people get upset when they see us felling trees, so it's important that everyone understands why we're doing it. So most of the trees we've been tackling have been the over-mature poplars and the ash with dieback, and there are a lot of those. When the poplars were first planted, they were planted for quick screening cover, and not much thought was given to the future management of them and the problems they could cause. And a lot of ash were planted as they were a common native tree and good for wildlife, but no one predicted ash dieback. So having a lot of both of these is not good for the reserve now. Trees take a long time to grow, so they need to be planned and sited carefully and imagined at full size. Will they shade out key sunny areas? How safe will they be when fully grown? We cannot predict future diseases and threats, so the widest variety gives the best chance of their survival and a healthy future tree cover. So here's what we've been planting for healthy tree cover in the future. Horse chestnut, 3 in 2017, 20 and 22. Sweet chestnut, February 2018 and 23. Scots pines, 8 in the beehive clearing and a couple each behind the horseshoe and in the paddocks. Maple trees, 25 planted along Rotunda Path and by the T-junction. Hazels, 130 planted in the plantation and at Hazel Coppice. All of those last maples and hazels were donated. Hawthorns, 20 planted along Rotunda Path and some potted up ready for common corner hedge and when the work's finished there. So that's just some of the ones planted recently, and here's how they're doing. These are 2 of the horse chestnuts. These are both grown from seed. The one on the left was planted out in winter last year, so to the right of Rotunda Path. So not yet put on any growth and is still shorter than the posts. And compare that to the one on the right, which was planted in 2017. So it's only 5 years. The fence posts are about the same height as the previous tree. It's already gained about 15 foot and it's growing at about 2 foot a year. And here are 3 of the 10 Scots pines. The 8 in the beehive clearing are all doing very well, and there's more in the paddocks and at the back of the horseshoe. These increase our diversity and should attract goldcrest, coulter and even crossbills in the future. And here's an elm tree on the left, one of 2 planted behind the screens at Barnell Meadow. These will only grow to a limited size before being hit by Dutch elm, but should keep suckering new growth, which we hope will attract breeding white-letter hairstreak butterflies to the meadow in the future. And a small-leaved lime on the right, planted by Sanctuary Hide, and a great tree for aphids and butterflies feeding on the honeydew. On the left here is a sweet chestnut, one of 2 planted at Jubilee Meadow, and on the right a silver birch near the T-junction. And finally a yew. This is planted at the entrance to the paddocks. It looks a bit brambled up at the moment because we can't get there to clear it, but It's doing all right. So these are just some of the trees that we planted recently to help replace the poplars and ash that we're losing. And there are lots more. So in the future we should have a more varied tree cover and be more resilient to the diseases and climate threats to come. We do have a tree nursery by the clubhouse, and you'll see that there are currently a number of hedge bushes there to help replant the hedges lost in Comer Corner and by the sluice. But we can't plant those until the sewage works are completed. So, when will that be? Let's recap on what's happened. The sewage leaks were first noticed as COVID started in March 2020. It never rains, but it pours. Firstly with a small leak bubbling up at Comer Corner, soon followed by another right in the middle of the path by the sluice. The leaks were due to old pipes being put under increased pressure from the West Hyde substation, pumping extra sewage from Chesham because of problems there. Where the pipes turned corners, they were whipping like a fire hose under pressure and had broken under the strain. The repairs meant new stronger corners being built at the leak sites and new pipe lining being inserted between them. Meanwhile, temporary pipes had to be run overland between the two leaks so the sewage could keep flowing. So these areas became a building site and access was closed off after the T-junction. This was the scene at Comer Corner in May 2021. And as you can see, we'd lost the hedge and the meadow was completely dug out to a depth of 3 metres to reach the pipes. And this was the scene at the sluice. Again, we've lost the hedge and the whole clearing with the path was dug out. Both areas were fenced off and became part of the Thames site for the duration of the works. The works took most of 2020 to complete. And we were grateful that COVID had forced us to close anyway, so half the reserve would have been out of bounds. But just when the end was in sight, we had a new leak, this time in Barnell Meadow.
That's why the barn box has gone.
Once again, the area was sealed off, and this was in October 2020, and again, this had to be dug out and repaired. So this is what Barnell Meadow looked like in July 2021. But this was only a temporary repair. Just as this picture was taken, we had yet another leak, this time a massive leak in Linster's Meadow. This was the view into the meadow from under the old oak on the 3rd of July 2021. It was spewing out raw sewage at 70 litres a second. And the resulting sewage stream was flowing right across Linster's Meadow and into Linster's Lake. The whole of Linster's Field, from the pumping station to Denham Way right down to the reserve, became one big building site and remains so now. So now it became obvious the whole pipeline from the pumping station needed replacing. So here is a map showing the route of the sewage main from the West Hyde pumping station on Denham Way. The red line shows the pipe between the sluice and Comer Corner. That's already been repaired and relined. The purple line shows the new section that was leaking and temporarily fixed at Barnell Meadow. And the yellow line shows the pipe in Linster's Field that now needs replacing. Finally, the blue section from Comer Corner into the sewage treatment works will also need to be done, and that will mean Comer Corner will be affected again. So after 3 years of leaks so far, only the red section is actually finished. Temporary overland pipes have been installed along the whole yellow and purple sections, and access to the back of the reserve is only possible via 2 sets of steps and a bridge over the stream. Here is the view from the stream by the sluice to Barnell Meadow. This is the view looking from Barnell Meadow back towards the stream. And this is the view at Barnell Meadow looking towards Linster's and the new Thames Water compound there. It's a bloody mess. And finally, this is Comer Corner. We can't replant the hedge here and start the repairs because it's going to be dug out again when they finally do the blue section. We have no idea of the timelines on the remaining work, but it's going to take a long time and they appear to be in no hurry. They have said they plan to start at Linster's and work back down to us, but we don't know when. So as we enter our 4th year of disruption, it seems probable we have another year or 2 to look forward to. I'll just interpose a bit off script here. I now have a meeting with Thames Water, well, their subcontractors, Murphy's, tomorrow morning at 9:30 to discuss the plans for the back of the reserve. Could be good, could be bad. It probably means we're going to lose access again soon, because if they start work, it's going to be closed off, but at least. So I'll let everyone know when we hear more. It'll be on the Facebook group. So apart from falling trees, COVID and sewage leaks. What else has been keeping us busy? Well, Keith's touched on this, so I won't dwell on it too much. 2 giant warehouses. We fought, we lost. Here's a map showing the development site, and as you can see, it's massive and right on our doorstep. This was the oil slick that Rita reported in her stream, and this was the boom put in by the Environment Agency to stop the oil reaching the reserve, which it did. And as Keith says, obviously we need to remain vigilant because this developer is One final problem we had to deal with was the arrival of a new species to the reserve, this one not so welcome as others. Oak processionary moth. Hurrah! And this was found first on the playing fields. It's a species of moth with caterpillars that nest on oak trees, it's self-evident. The caterpillars are covered in small hairs which can cause serious health risks in humans. They came in from Europe on imported trees in the London area, but are now spreading, and they reached us in May 2020. One was found originally in Denham Way playing fields and followed by one actually on the reserve in July 2020. The nest was found by Forestry Commission workers checking out the Denham Way find. They were still trying to contain the outbreak then, so we had to have our plantation sprayed in spring 2021 and 2022. But the moths are still spreading, so they've now given up on that. The moths are now going to be a fact of life for us, and we need to be aware of them so that we can keep people away. So this is what a nest looks like. If you see one, don't go near it. They are dangerous. They're covered in small hairs that can cause an allergic reaction or breathing difficulties. If you find one, take a picture at a safe distance, note the location and report it to the committee. So, that's all the issues we've been dealing with behind the scenes. It's been a busy few years, but I'll try to end on a brighter note. The wildlife has been carrying on regardless and is doing well. Here's a couple of highlights. Tony Holes and Peter Jones spotted our first small red-eyed damselfly in 2018. That was our only record. Then in August 2020, I was cutting back the growth along the new bunds in the reed bed and found 20 of them mating and laying eggs in Sanctuary Pond, so they've moved in en masse. And last year they were seen breeding on the village pond. I've already mentioned the downy emerald dragonfly, but we also gained emerald and willow emerald damselflies in the last couple of years. And a special mention here goes to Sue and Steve Place for their excellent surveying work that helps us keep track of the species and how they're doing. We are now one of the best sites in Hertfordshire for dragonflies and damsels, with 21 species recorded. Watch out for the Norfolk hawker, we can expect that next. And also, beautiful demoiselle, I hear. It's in Hearts now, yeah. Over on the east so far, but one to look out for. A new species of mammal was confirmed on the reserve too. Dave Sims found an edible dormouse, or glis, while doing the nest box survey in October 2020. Another great find. Well done, Dave. But the star find has to be a species not seen on the reserve for decades. The water vole.
Oh, good.
In April 2022, a new member, Agentis theatis, I hope I've got that right, posted a picture of a mammal from Shellhide that definitely looked like a water vole. The reeds in the background had been nibbled at a typical water vole angle, but could we be sure? We put out a feeding station, a plank with a screw through it and an apple on the screw. And sure enough, the apples were eaten and the telltale tic-tac droppings were left confirming it. Josh Gray from Hearts of Middlesex Wildlife Trust came and surveyed the whole of the lake, Marsh Lake, and we found signs all the way round, but all very new. The strongest were in front of double-decker hide, so we set up a feeding station there, and Adrian Lee set up his camera trap, resulting in lots of excellent footage. The video footage for that is all in the Facebook group, and if you do a search, go into the Maple Lodge Facebook group and do a search with water vole, it'll pull it all up. Some excellent footage there. However, to keep it in perspective, there was no increase in sightings elsewhere around the lake, so this appears to have been a lone individual, and he disappeared when the lake dried out later last summer. The previous last sighting had been on 12th of March 1997, 25 years ago. but hopefully the new one has survived and will return with a partner this year. We're halfway between the Cheshire and the Denham populations, so well placed to become a transit route or a satellite site while we have water. There are many more species that we've added over this period, including dozens of moths from the excellent trapping work being carried out regularly by Simon Buckingham, but that gives you a quick flavour of the last 4 years. So, what are our future plans now? Well, we have to get past the sewage pipe repairs, however long that takes, and then we can repair the damage to Comer Corner and the Barnell Meadow, reseeding the grassy areas and replanting the lost hedges. We will need to replace the Barnell box. I'm hoping Thames Water will sort that. We need to pave the edge of the village pond to keep out the clinkers and stones the rabbits keep digging up. We aim to build a new hide at the barge pond, but we can't start that until we have full access to get materials there. The clubhouse roof needs replacing. It's leaking. We're hoping to get Thames Water to do that soon. And there's still a lot of ash trees dying in the plantation that will need to be addressed. There's always plenty to do. I think that's everything. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to the work party members. It's been a trying few years, but I think we've come through them all very well. To everyone else who gives us their time and efforts in so many ways, to all of you for coming tonight. Let's hope we can get back to normality soon. If anyone has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.